Jordana, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for the intro, Janelle. Thank you for having me as well.
I was super excited when you wanted to come on because I've been watching kind of what you've been doing for the past year just from afar.
Yeah.
And I'm inspired. That's as simple as I can put it. And I know it took a long time. You're probably thinking about it for a long time before you finally jumped into it.
Yeah, I was. I really was. So, it all started before COVID. I really just wanted to travel the world and have a remote job because I thought while we're young, it's important not to waste our time in our youth in one place and, just waiting until we're retired to really see the world.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's when it all started. But then, of course, COVID happened and we did start remote working. So I decided, okay, let me take this seriously.
Hmm.
So I basically did my 9 to 5. I was working in a digital marketing agency as an SEO, search engine optimization specialist.
Hmm.
And then I thought, okay, why don't I give it my best shot? After my 9 to 5, I'm going to work from 6 to 11 or 12 at night to try and see if I can get my own clients on the side and try and see if I can really get my dream going.
Hmm.
So that's when it all started. I started acquiring my own clients through different means, mostly, through friends or business owners I knew or Facebook groups. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so it was a really fun process. And then finally in September of 2021 or 2022.
Probably 21. September
Yeah.
2022 was just this past year.
Yeah, exactly. So September 2021 is when I really made the jump. So
Yeah.
yeah, so before that I just made I'm a big planner, so I made like a 6 month plan before that and I was like, okay, what do you want to do in 6 months? I want to be out of Toronto. I want to start nomading. So, yeah, I wrote it on my big whiteboard in my place and it came true because I just booked a flight. I didn't even get I was like, if you're ready or if you're not ready, your flight's booked and
Yeah, yeah.
you're off.
Jordana is from Ontario, but northern part of Ontario, so very small town. So I think, tell me if I'm wrong, even moving to Toronto was probably pretty impressive to people where you grew up.
Yeah, that was one of my first dreams to move to
Live in
Toronto.
Toronto.
Yeah, so you're from a smaller town too,
Yep.
correct?
People
Okay.
think Toronto is this big, bad, crazy city, and it's not at all.
Yeah, it's like I feel like when you first get to Toronto, you definitely feel it and oh my gosh, I had to have friends do the subway system with me because I couldn't figure it out. So I'm like, come with me, please.
Or we're used to driving everywhere.
Exactly, yeah.
Hmm.
So it was a big shocker and I had so much fun in Toronto, met so many great people,
Hmm.
got involved a lot in the networking scene and the event scene.
Yeah, and that's how we know each other.
Exactly, yeah,
Hmm.
we worked for Bumble, the
We
events team.
did, which
So
it was amazing. Like that was back like 2018.
oh yeah,
I
that
think
was
we
a
met.
while
Yeah, yeah,
back.
yeah.
That was a good time.
So what year did you move to Toronto? Right after university?
Yeah, so I guess I graduated 2016.
Yeah.
So right after then, I went to Toronto.
Nice. At what point did Toronto start feeling lackluster to you?
Great question, Janelle.
Yeah. I'm not asking from personal experience at all.
Right. Well, you know what? It it seemed pretty big for a long time.
Hmm.
I think in my third year, I guess I
Wow.
started, third or fourth, I
So
started.
2019, 2020.
Yeah, to feel like, okay, I love Toronto, love the city, but I just think
What
it's,
about it did you not like?
yeah, I think it was the chaos.
What do
Yeah,
you
so
mean?
I wanted I didn't want to move back to my small city of Sudbury. Well, it's not that
Hmm.
small, but smaller.
But you already
Um,
knew it. You've done it. So you wanted something new.
exactly. Yes, I just wanted a change and I wanted something less chaotic. We'd be on the subway system for hours in a day. And if we
Mm.
had side gigs, like I'm sure you did as well,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have your 9 to 5, and then after that, you're subwaying to your side gig. So you really spent I would go day spending probably 4 hours at least on the subway. So
That's crazy.
yeah, so
Yeah,
I
because
definitely.
you guys lived pretty north of Toronto. So you
Mm,
were commuting downtown a little bit.
yeah, so I lived in North York at first and then Donlands.
Yeah.
and then Queen Street.
Yeah.
Oh, and 1 year Etobicoke. So I bounced
So
around.
yeah, you were commuting a lot. I always lived downtown, so I've never really done the commuting thing.
Ooh.
I've never had a job where I had to commute on the subway.
No
Until
way.
now, like I commute a little bit on the subway now, just meeting clients, but I always walk to my jobs.
No way.
Walked or streetcared.
Okay, that's a different life.
And I feel like I feel like if I subwayed as much as the normal commuter, I think I would have left Toronto a long time ago. I think it keeps me sane that I don't subway all the time.
I think that's a really good point you made there.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you telling me you spent like even 1 hour on a subway is
Oh,
crazy to me.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
draining. It's depressing.
It's so depressing. Like you do what you can, right? Like I would listen to informative podcasts and
Yeah.
wellness podcasts or read a
Yeah.
book, but at the end of the day, you're still sitting there and in a
Hours at a
cluster.
time.
Yeah, so
And that feeling, you're one of millions. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Whether you live in Toronto or whether live in another metropolitan city, I think the pandemic really showed people a different way. And is that kind of the real trigger that made you think, okay, I can do things differently here.
Yeah, I think it made everyone take a step back and learn that they have to slow down and learn to
Mm,
reprioritize their goals, their dreams, desires. So
mhm.
that was definitely a point for me to like, because during the pandemic, I honestly just like, besides going out to, I don't know, obviously do groceries, I just used that time to really like meditate every day,
Good.
do yoga, like work on my dreams and goals. So,
Mm.
and then I soon realized I'm like, whoa, what was I doing for all these years? Like, it's been great, but like, man, I'm like, I never stopped my brain for a minute.
It was a hamster wheel.
Yeah,
That's exactly what it is. It never stops. And I always say the cost of living in Toronto, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And you almost feel like you just need to work all day and you make all this money just to kind of barely make ends meet. And at some point you got to wake up and think, is this what I want? For some people it is.
exactly. That's, yeah, like a lot of cities like that.
I like what you did, where a lot of people will just quit their job cold turkey and then start trying to build a business. But you were smart.
Right.
You know it was going to be a lot of work, but you knew that okay, I still need this 9 to 5 to be able to pay for my life. And if I really want to build something on the side, this has to be my off hours. It's not social time anymore. It's I'm building. You're exhausted, but was there any wins like early on that you thought, ooh, okay, I can probably build this on my own?
Like, do you mean before I started to go on my own?
Yeah, like when you kind of had both. At what
Yeah,
point did the seesaw tilt where you thought, "Ooh, I could do this on my own"?
right. Okay. So it was when, so you're right. So security has always been very important for me.
Yeah.
My dad always drilled that into me and my siblings' heads. Security, you need that first. But I'm also I like to take risks too.
Yeah.
So I like to work with my brain because, when I need to quit a job, I will quit. So I know that leading up to that moment, I need to really stack and focus.
Ah, so yeah, like you said, you plan. You don't just do things impulsively.
Yes, exactly. I
That's a good
plan so then
quality
when I
to
have
have.
the impulse, I can
Yeah. Okay,
jump.
good. You're smart. Everyone listening to this could take some notes.
Thank you.
Even me.
But yeah, so when I decided to make the jump, it was okay, Jordana, like once you get enough clients that you're, meeting the same salary as your current job, then you can make the jump.
Mm.
So my last client actually that I got before I went, like got me just over my
Oh.
full-time salary. So I was like, oh my gosh, perfect. And I just remember the moment because, I was waiting for him to sign and he said he was going to sign. And then I was like, okay, you know what? If you sign this week, like I'll give you a little discount, just get me in
You
there.
just wanted that high of like, okay, I've made
Yeah,
it.
I wanted the decision made. So he signed the contract. I think I had like at that time maybe 3 or 4 clients. And then yeah, and then I was like, okay, I gave my work the notice. And then a couple months later I was out of Toronto.
Where did you go first?
Yeah, I did a safe decision.
I love your planning. No, most of the people that I have on this podcast, and
Yeah.
myself included, like if you ever listen to any of my solo episodes, I've done things very impulsively. And I don't recommend it. It's pretty stressful. So, anyone listening to this, if you want to make a change, do it the way Jordana has done it. So, where did you go first?
So I actually went to, it's close to San Francisco. It's called
Okay.
Mountain View,
Okay, cool.
because my sister had moved out there to start working.
Nice.
So, like I said, I didn't know where I wanted to go yet, but I know I wanted to book a ticket so that I at least, I made one step
Yeah,
closer. So I was like, let me just go stay with her for a bit.
cool. Change of
Um,
scenery. Let's start there.
exactly. So that was my first move. And I stayed probably, I think, a month and a half-ish. Yeah.
Nice. When you were packing up all of your stuff in Toronto, was it bittersweet? Did you feel like it was a really an end, or did you think, "Man, I can come back here anytime I want?"
I did think it was an end of an era because I
Yeah.
left my dearest roommate, Carolyn.
She's so sweet.
Yeah. So
You
I
guys were
did.
together for so long.
I know, and we still talk, and we're like
Yeah.
reminiscing. She's the cutest.
I always loved your guys' apartments.
Yeah, we had pretty nice apartments
You
actually.
guys really did. Like they were so cozy and cool. I liked them.
Yeah, we hustled, and she was good at decorating.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you felt it was an end of an era. Like the
Yeah,
the book is closed.
I did because I knew I would be gone, if not forever, for a long time.
Mm.
So, I still go back and visit, and I knew I would because all my friends are there and
Yeah, yeah.
stuff. But and I love going back to visit.
Hmm.
But just to live, I don't know, it kind of has a bit of an eerie vibe. Like,
What do you
not in the
mean?
summers, but I don't know. I think it's just like I don't like looking back
Yeah.
when I not move forward. I just change things, right? I change my life.
You're
And
not
like
like nostalgic in a negative way.
no, like I get like I feel weird when I look back because I'm like, no, like this is here
We're
now.
done. We're done. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
That's interesting to me. Once you do leave, yeah.
Mhm.
Some people, there are a lot of people that like just kind of harp on the past and stuff, and I find it pretty draining. So I'm glad you are similar to me, where once you've moved on and made the decision, you don't look back at all.
Exactly.
Did you find your business changed or your mindset changed or anything the moment you change your scenery?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Right? I don't think people realize how much of a difference that makes.
Honestly, you killed it with that question.
Mm.
100%. That's how I like 3x'd my salary in the
But
end, right?
why? What is it about the scenery change? Is it just different routines? Is it just meeting different people? Like, what is it?
I think it mostly comes down to your mindset and
Mm,
your well-being.
mm,
So, everyone knows this. Like, if you're taking care of yourself, then
hmm.
you're going to show up better for people around you and essentially your clients or new leads
Yeah.
that come in. And
Mm,
you're also putting yourself in a position where, you're open to meeting new people, new business owners. Like when you're a digital nomad, and I know you've done a bit of solo travel yourself, right?
just getting started. So, yeah, we'll chat.
Yeah, so on that note, once you become a digital nomad and you get into the scene, like wherever you go, there's such a big community of expats and locals who are entrepreneurs and business owners.
Hmm.
And it really helps connecting because like there's some clients that I worked for when we just went for a coffee date. They're like, hey, want to go for coffee?
Yeah, yeah.
And then the next minute they're like, oh, I need SEO. Can you help me? So
Mm,
and you're in a better mind state. Like, I had severe, like I had clinical depression, anxiety, like I have ADHD, all the fun stuff, right?
yeah.
So it's just when I moved, like the sun helps, the weather helps. It just changes you. And like I'm much happier, like consistently when I'm in a warmer and sunnier climate,
Yeah.
you know.
Toronto can be depressing,
Mm.
especially in the winter months. Now that the summer's here, the city is coming alive again, of
Yes,
course. But yeah, I think a lot of people feel a similar way. And it's hard to know how to get out of it and make that first change. So you spoke about being a planner. So the first thing you did was you did almost like a soft move. I'll move where my sister lives. It's a warmer climate. I still have someone I know. I don't have to worry about accommodations. But then what's your next move? When do you really start going digital nomad?
yeah. So about a month or and a half afterwards, I was really doing a lot of research when I moved there. So I wasn't going out too much. I was just working,
Yeah.
focused on my business and where I wanted to go.
Mm.
So, of course, Google's our best friend. So,
Yeah.
Playa del Carmen, Mexico came up in,
Ooh.
one of the best locations for digital nomads.
And
And
so you're Googling like digital nomad locations.
exactly, yep.
Cool.
And what it costs to live there, how
Mhm.
safe it is, what areas to live, etc., making sure there's a big community of nomads there as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that was my first actual move. I remember just, ending up in my Airbnb in Mexico, Playa del Carmen, and I literally just like started like jumping around in my place. I was like, "Whoa, this is real." Like I knew no one, knew
Were you
nothing.
nervous?
Yeah, I barely spoke Spanish at the time,
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
was just like, "Cool. Here we go."
Have you always been that confident and willing to take risk and try new things?
Sometimes it depends on the
Yeah.
mood.
Because I feel like even something as simple as booking a flight and moving to even another country or even another province or state for a month, that scares people a lot. But why? Like so many people do it. Why do you think people are so scared?
I just think like there's a lot of reasons, right? Like they're used to people get comfortable
Mm.
in their daily lives and they just think, I don't know, they just think it's, I guess, not normal to do this stuff or, they have to stay in their comfortable box, I guess. Like, not that that's a bad thing for everybody, but it is scary, like, especially if you don't know the language, if you're away from your friends and family, you know no one there. A lot of people need to be with people they know regularly, right? Just to
Mhm.
feel okay. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons.
Did you talk to anyone prior to that, or like follow anyone on Instagram that really inspired that digital nomad travel bug in you at all? Obviously, people know about the idea of being a digital nomad, but how do you get it in your head where you think, yeah, that's what I want to do? Because you could have easily just stayed in Toronto and kept building your business.
Right, that's true. I honestly, I think I was reading about it more.
Mhm.
Like I don't really know too many influencer. Well, now obviously,
Now it's a lot more common.
Yeah, but I think there was this one girl she was actually born in my hometown, Sudbury.
Mm.
She was in
Mhm.
Toronto for a while. Her name's Sam Laliberte.
Mhm.
And like I think I saw a bit of her sharing about it, but before I really understood it, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." So like I saw one person, I honestly don't remember where she was going, but I was like, "Oh, it
Mhm.
looks like you just travel full time." So,
And you're intrigued and you
yeah.
think, okay, if she can do it, she's similar age as me, she comes from the same place that I grew up. If she can do
Yeah,
it, then obviously it's not that hard. Like I can figure
exactly.
it out.
Exactly, yeah.
How do you figure out things with visas and how long you're allowed to stay in a country? And how do you feel like, oh, I feel safe enough to go into this Airbnb? And yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, so I'm kind of lazy in that sense. I'm like, I try and spend the majority of the time on my business
Okay.
and like, self-care and stuff. So when it comes to like if a country has a very strict visa policy,
Hmm.
I don't even bother. So what I do is I look for areas that let Canadians stay for, 5 months, 3 months.
Almost as like just traveling.
Exactly. So I never
Okay.
have to really do too much paperwork.
Okay, cool, cool. And then are you still filing taxes as Canadian?
Yes.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
sure that's the part that's coming up now that you're like, ooh, okay, this gets a little complicated.
You know what? I thought it did.
But it's not?
So the law actually recently changed because I incorporated at the beginning of the year, finally. I was so late
Hmm.
to that.
I have to too, so don't worry.
Right? It
It's
takes
one of those
time.
things that you just keep putting off. I need an
Yeah,
admin assistant ASAP.
exactly. So I put it off for a while, but finally did it. And my corporate lawyer was like, okay, look, they actually just changed the law because before you had to be in Canada for, I think it was at least 750 days out of like 5 years. So
Okay.
essentially, half the year you had to be living in Canada
Okay.
to have the corporation, unless you have, directors, business directors living in
Okay.
Canada, which I don't.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so now it's fine. So now I can travel. I have heard there's issues with healthcare that you have to reapply after a certain amount of months, but honestly, I've never had that issue and I've been
Mhm.
gone for quite a while. I do come back and visit, but this year I'll probably be gone for almost a full year, so I'll get back to you
Amazing.
on how that works.
Amazing. Okay, so you left in September 2021. You went
Mhm.
to California first to your sisters,
Yes.
then you go to Mexico. Where
Mhm.
next?
Playa del Carmen. Yeah, I went to Mexico. I did that for 5 months, so that was a stint.
Did you learn the language while you were there?
Yeah, that was one of my goals. So
So are
I
you
hired,
fluent?
yeah, well, semi.
Good,
I'm
amazing.
medium.
I'm learning Spanish right now, so that's really cool.
How are you learning?
Through an app called Preply. It's like a online tutor.
Okay, cool. Yeah, highly recommend tutors. I got a, in-person tutor in Mexico, and
Amazing.
that was like game changing for me.
And did you just learn, especially if you are a solo entrepreneur, you're probably not hanging out with Spanish people all the time. So how did you learn on your own outside of
Um,
being tutored?
okay, so of course I started on Duolingo like,
Yeah.
a year ago or whatever, but I found one that's called Pimsleur.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Oh,
doing as well. It's
no
good.
way. That
It
that
was
was the
boring at first, but now I'm like, I like listening to it as I'm going. And I think I'm gonna realize later on, like, I know all this like phrases and vocab just randomly. And I'm like, oh, what? How do I know that? And it's because I'm just like
Pimsleur.
listening to it.
Honestly, I tried so many things.
Mm.
Pimsleur was the one that worked. So I did that just before I went to Mexico to have a bit of a understanding. And then, so from there, and also to keep up with Spanish, my kind of rule of thumb is always go to countries and cities that speak Spanish.
Okay,
So then
that'll
I,
push you. That's not too English speaking.
exactly. So I keep
Yeah,
up. And then from Mexico, I hit up Puerto Rico for a bit,
cool.
mostly for a music festival, Afro Nation.
Yeah.
That was
What
so fun.
music festival?
Afro Nation.
Oh, that's so cool. I bet
Yeah,
I would love that.
it
It's
was
all Afro
incredible.
beats, right?
Yes, yes.
Oh, I knew it. I think we
Oh,
like similar music.
yeah, it was like I'm not a festival goer or a partier, but I will go to like Afro Nation
Afro
or
beats.
Afrobeats Fest. Yeah.
Amazing. So how long were you in Puerto Rico?
I think it was about 3 weeks in
Okay.
total.
And then where
So,
next?
and then after Puerto Rico, my friends actually from Canada hit me up and they're like, "We planned a California trip. Let's go."
Let's go
So,
back.
yeah, so I went for, I think that was about 2 weeks. So we went around California, hit up some different cities. And then after that, I went to I went back home for a bit for
Yep.
Toronto in the summertime to visit,
Okay.
to
So
catch
you
up.
weren't depressed then, because I remember you saying you went back Christmas time this past year and you were
Yes.
depressed. But
Yeah.
so you weren't depressed summer 2022.
No, because I was there in the
Okay.
summer and
Okay,
I
cool.
got to catch up with friends and family.
Hmm.
So that was that. And then at the end of the summertime, I headed over to Spain, my favorite place in the
Oh, cool. I haven't
world.
been yet, so you really need to tell me what you ended up doing.
I
That's
will.
the place where I'm gonna go next for some travels.
Okay, I'll let you know. So,
Okay.
because I lived there for about 3 months total, because that's the
Where?
max you can stay. No, I did 2 months in Sevilla.
Oh, yeah, I heard it's freaking hot. When I was in Portugal in April, a lot of the
Mhm.
people I met was coming from Sevilla. Sevilla or Sevilla?
Sevilla.
Sevilla, yeah.
Yeah.
And they were like, girl, it was like high 30s. They were
It
like,
was
it's fucking
40.
hot.
It was
Yeah,
40. The first day I arrived, it was
but you loved it.
I loved it. Because it wasn't like, I don't know, I just love it. I love Spain. So I was like, I don't
Okay.
care. Like,
You're like, I don't
wherever
care
it is,
where I am. Okay.
melts me. Yeah.
Where else did you stay?
So I stayed in Sevilla 2 months and then I headed over to Las Palmas.
Okay, cool.
So it's a part of the Canary Islands, so
Ooh.
Grand Canary Islands. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that was fun. I did that for a month because that was my 3 months in total.
Yep.
And then after that, I went to New York,
Cool.
yeah, to live for about, I think it was 2 months.
Did you find it similar to Toronto?
I didn't like it as much as Toronto.
Why? It was almost too big?
Yeah, I think it was because I was also living like outside of the city.
Oh,
I
okay.
lived, where was I living? In Queens. Yeah, and it was just like it was winter time by then, like it was almost winter, so it was pretty cold. You know, my mood was shifting and like work was getting more stressful. So I don't know, I really just worked like 10 hours a day, 12 hours a
And you don't
day.
associate good memories with the place.
No, I don't. No.
Yeah, I
So,
can
it
understand
was
that.
it was good here and there. Like weekends, I would go and check out the city sometimes, but yeah, it was
But
okay.
and then where next? Then you came back home for Christmas, right?
Yeah, so then I came back home for Christmas,
And you
which
said it
was
was
fun.
awful.
Yeah, it was nice to see the fam, but I think the winter really hit me. Like, I just really needed some sun and I didn't know where to go next because like
Mm.
choice exhaustion is a real thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like it's such a blessing, and I'm like forever grateful every day that I get to do
Can
this with
just
my
get
life.
picked and go. Yeah.
But it's like, where do you go? And you feel like there's this huge FOMO because now that you can be anywhere in work, there's like a billion countries out there, right? And you're like, oh my God, like I have FOMO. Why am I not there with my friends? Or,
Yep.
so, so yeah, so I had a little rough patch for about 2 months. And then I finally, actually, you inspired me, Janelle.
Oh,
Costa
right.
Rica.
And you went to Costa Rica, right?
Yeah, so I went to Costa Rica
Oh my
next.
God, that's so nice that I inspired you. That's so cool.
Yeah, because I kept hearing like, everyone was posting about Costa Rica, but then I think you're the last, how you have to see an ad 7 times before
Yeah,
making
yeah.
a
I was
decision.
the seventh.
Yeah. So you were the number where I'm like, you know what? I need to make a decision by tomorrow. Let's do it.
Let's go. And so you went probably around the time that I was still there, or maybe right when I came back. When did you go?
I think right when you came back, it was
Cool.
beginning of March.
Oh, yeah, no, I came back mid-Jan.
Oh, okay. So my
Yeah, I
bad.
was just there for 2.5 weeks.
Okay, so yeah, so I did about a month, just under a month in March
Yeah,
in Santa Teresa. So I
the
stayed there.
best, isn't it?
It's really nice. Yeah.
Some of the best sunsets I've ever seen in my life.
It really is. Like the nature is out of this world there.
I love
But
it.
the one thing is the technology and the resources.
Yeah,
Because my,
Costa Rica as a whole.
yeah, like my laptop broke the second day I was there, and they literally couldn't fix it. They're like, yeah, we can't really get the parts here. So I was screwed. And thank God people let me, borrow their laptops until I got a new one. But yeah,
It's
that was
like that's
hard.
your entire business. If you're a digital nomad, your entire life is this computer
Yeah,
and
I
your
was a
phone.
mess. So,
It's a
but
bad start to a new country.
yeah, so I think that gave me a little bit of a sour taste, but
Mhm.
I'm not writing it off yet. I just will probably go there for visits.
So where are you now? We're coming into mid-May. Where are you now?
Yeah, so right after there, I came to Panama City,
Mm.
which I'm staying for 2 months. So I'm like a month and a half in.
And so you're almost done. So do you have the
Yeah.
next place picked already?
Yeah, so I have booked until beginning of August. So 2 months in Panama City, which is a beautiful place. I love it here.
You love it? Okay, cool.
Honestly, such a good place for nomads. It's like it's kind of like a tropical Toronto, but like
Ooh.
better. I don't
Okay,
know.
cool.
Yeah, and next I'm going to the Algarves in
Ah,
Portugal for a
girl.
month. I'm so
When do you
excited.
go? Oh, I'm so
I'm
jealous.
following you, it looks like.
Girl, I literally just got back not even a week ago, and
Your
I'm dying.
pictures. I was like, yes, cannot wait.
So are you doing all Portugal or just Algarve?
So June, the Algarves, I'm staying in Lagos. And
Yeah.
then July, I'm staying in Lisbon, but I might have to check out Sintra at some point because I've just heard
Yeah, yeah.
that.
Do Sintra just for like a couple day trips. Are you gonna do Porto? I loved Porto.
I have to. I don't have a plan because I don't know.
Even
I
just
like,
go up for like a weekend and check it out.
yeah, I think I'll do
If you can
that.
take the train from Lisbon, it's 3, 4 hours.
Yeah, I might do that
It's
then.
really, really simple and enjoyable to go up that way.
Okay, I will.
Do it.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
so
you'll
excited.
really like Lisbon. I found Lisbon to be very similar to Toronto. So Lisbon is
Ah,
trying to become what I hear is they're trying to kind of becoming the next like tech hub. They're trying to be like a Toronto or an Austin
cool.
or something like that. But like a rooftop that I went to on my last night there, I'm like I feel like I'm at the Broadview Hotel or like Laval or
Really?
like something. Yeah, it seems pretty multicultural. Like the vibes are good. It's very like young, cool city. I think you'll love Lisbon.
What about the language?
All English.
Really? Okay, that's good to
Yeah,
know.
you won't have well, it's Portuguese. So I
Yeah.
I came back being like, do I learn Portuguese instead of Spanish? I think I'm gonna want to learn both.
Yeah, it would be so cool if you can learn both,
I know.
but I think I'm just tapped with I'm like I
You'll be fine. You probably won't use your Spanish at all.
okay.
But it'll be fully English speaking.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, you don't have to worry at all.
Yay. And I have a good friend there who I met in Mexico actually.
Oh,
She's a
cool.
digital nomad. Her name is Vanessa and she's from the Algarve. So,
Ugh,
she's
I
been
would live in the
convincing me.
Algarve
Right?
easily.
I think I will really like it. So, I'll have people there and some of our friends from Mexico too are going to be there.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a really good time. And it seems like
Mm,
it has similar vibes to Spain too. I love the
mm.
castle, the tranquil vibes and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's my style.
I love that we're having this conversation because when I came back from Portugal, so when I came back from Costa Rica, I definitely had post-vacation blues, but I think it's because I was
Mm,
coming back into the grayest, worst time of Toronto and Canada.
yeah.
And I think it was just more just like, okay, I just came from a really warm climate and now I'm like, start of a year, I've been off for a month, let's get back into it. But when I came back from Portugal, there was a part of me that I was excited to come back just to get on the grind again. I was excited to like get back to my business. But Toronto is feeling pretty lackluster to me lately. Yeah. I
Interesting.
think I only got a couple of years, maybe 3 left in me.
Okay, that's interesting because your
Yeah,
job, you're a real estate agent,
I
so
know.
you have to be there, right?
But it's the only thing keeping me here.
Oh, I got shivers.
Yeah. So I don't know if I told you this before. I've told a lot of people, but like my longer term goal of what I want to do is I want to sell real estate in either Europe or Latin America.
Oh, perfect.
So that's why I'm learning Spanish and learning another language to be able to open me up to those opportunities. So yeah, I love real estate. Like that's what's keeping me here. I love my career. But when I was in Portugal, I was meeting a couple real estate agents, and one of them was like, if you can sell in Toronto, you can sell here. Just move. And I was
That's
like, yeah, you're right.
it's so true though. Like I don't know, I just see from my Instagram account people who were real estate agents in Toronto and now they're in Mexico or other
Okay, well, send me
countries.
their
I was
profiles
gonna
so
say,
I
let
can
me
connect.
connect you.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I like you can do anything anywhere, right? So as long as you
Yeah.
want to stay in the country, or you can do, if you have the travel bug, you can, just go to Portugal and, in the summer months, you can just be a real estate agent there. And then if you want to try out Mexico or Panama,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a bit harder with the qualifications, but you can
Mm.
do it. You're a worker.
Yeah, there's gonna be a way that I'm gonna figure out how to do it all, even if it's like, okay, my life is in Toronto, but I've built
Right.
my business in a way where I can leave for 2 to 3 weeks at a time and everything's gonna be fine.
Yes, exactly. And you know what? A lot of people from Toronto are starting to invest in, places in different countries and they're starting
Exactly.
to want to move away for the winter and not just go to Florida, right?
Yeah.
So that could be an option too. You can be the go-to for those people.
That's the plan. It's
Yeah.
the dream is there. The dream is very clear. It's just a matter of figuring out all the steps between now and then.
Yeah. You still got time. You're super young, so you
Yeah,
got
I
time.
agree.
You have this amazing podcast, so you have
Mhm.
different things going for you as well. So
Yeah,
that's
we'll figure
awesome.
it out. I want to ask you a couple questions before you go around like cost. So,
Yeah.
were you ever worried about like how much things cost? Like obviously you're building your own business, so every country you change, you would figure out the cost of living, the cost of food. Like did that ever worry you or are you like me and I think if I can afford to live in Toronto, I can afford to live anywhere?
Exactly. It's a bit of both, to be honest.
Mhm.
Like I said, I'm usually pretty prepared and I'm really good with budgeting because when you have your own business, like it's like,
Mhm.
okay, let's say one day all your clients leave you, which I hope they don't, and I have
Yeah, yeah.
contacts, so but still, just worst case scenario, if all your contracts end tomorrow, like will you be okay for a certain amount of time? So I
Yeah.
think it's being prepared, A, like having that cushion, and then B, like financially, I feel like most countries right now, like nowadays, are pretty on par to Toronto, I'll be honest.
Santa Teresa is nuts, hey?
Oh, Santa Teresa, that's why I
I
stayed there
found
for
Santa
like,
Teresa worse than Toronto.
oh yeah, that's why I stayed there less than a month because I'm like, I just don't, there's other places that are on par or
I
less.
agreed.
So not Santa Teresa. Costa Rica's just
Costa
high
Rica is really
class.
expensive.
Yeah. But other places like, Mexico, Spain, Panama City, and wherever you go, there's different options, right? Because I have friends who will get roommates, right? So it's a lot cheaper. Or you can get your own place if you budget for it. Or you can live in a co-living space. So there's so many different options depending on your budget. So there's something for everyone.
Yeah,
You just have to
agreed.
really know like what you want and what you can afford and go for that.
I think a lot of people put roadblocks in front of them. and they create them. Like no one, those
I
roadblocks don't
know.
need to be there. They're making it harder to achieve than it really needs to be. And I find they look at other people. I'm sure there's lots of people that we know that are looking at you being like, "Oh my God, that's so she's so inspiring that she can do all of that. Like it's so cool." And it's like you have all of the resources and tools that Jordana has. If you
Yeah.
want what Jordana has right now, you have the ability to create it. Maybe not overnight, but you have the ability and the options to do so.
Of course, yeah, anyone does. It's just if you want it, right? Some people don't,
Mhm.
which is totally cool. Like, not a lot of people do. But, if you like doing this for an adventure, if you like seeing the world, if you don't get homesick as much, or, you're
Yeah.
okay with being away and being alone a lot of the time. Because, like, honestly, a lot of the times it does get lonely. But, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I've always been okay being alone. I don't know why, but
Me
and
too.
then you make friends, right? Like you just join these WhatsApp groups, these Facebook groups, and if you want to go to a get together, you do. If you don't, you stay
Mhm.
home. So, there's something for everyone. It's just you're right. You have to want it and you have to start planning for it, I would say.
Do you find it hard moving around a lot and maybe just living out of a couple suitcases, or do you like that?
I do find it hard moving around a lot. So, I'm always like, okay, you need to find somewhere to stay for at least like 4 months.
Mm.
Because when you said, in Portugal, like, oh, maybe you could take a weekend trip, like I tense up because I'm like, oh my God, I'm traveling so much. So like it stresses me out because I do like to feel settled, to focus on work mostly. And,
Yeah,
like some weekends I end up just working, right? So,
of course.
but, in your second question, before I started nomading, I started looking into like minimalistic and,
Yeah, yeah.
getting rid of a lot of stuff. And I realized it really helped my mental health. So
Yes.
I actually love it because I only have a certain amount of outfits and like I don't really go shopping because I can't, which I've never liked shopping. I despise
Oh,
shopping.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I honestly love it.
It's funny that you mentioned that. Even if you wanted to go shopping, you know that you might have to move again in a month, and you're like, I actually can't put
Yep.
this anywhere.
My
It's
luggage is
kind of
already
nice.
overweight with, my wellness stuff. So
Yeah, of course.
can't add anything else.
How long do you think you'll be doing this? Is this a new lifestyle, or is this just something that you want to do for a couple years and then find a home base that you really want long term?
Yeah, I think you know what? I've been contemplating that myself because I'm really into my business and I really want to like grow it and I just have so many ideas. So
Mhm.
I think I'm gonna travel a bit more until I find somewhere where I'm like, okay, this is my base. I think
Mm.
Spain, to be honest, but I had to
Yeah,
try out
girl,
a
I'm
few
following you,
places.
I think. I'll be over
Right?
there.
Okay, we'll link up then and we'll talk. But yeah, I think pretty soon I want to narrow in on my base.
Okay.
And then I still want freedom to travel. So, like, Europe would be great because I can travel anywhere.
Hmm.
And then, maybe I can go back to Toronto in the summers to visit, or when it gets colder in Spain. Panama City is great. Like, it's always warm here. So,
Yeah.
I'm happy I discovered this place. So, yeah, I think it's more finding maybe like one, two, max three bases and
No,
then
I
figuring
agree.
it out. Yeah.
I think Europe was good. I keep going back and forth between Latin America and Europe, but from my experience, and again, talking to you and other people, I don't know if Latin America has the infrastructure that I think we're used to in Toronto.
Hmm.
I live close to a grocery store and I don't want to carry a box of soda water to my house, so I order it from Amazon.
Yes.
Like we you don't have that in Latin America and we also don't have that in Europe, but I think it's good. I think it'd be tougher to get used to that in Latin America as opposed to Europe.
Do you know what though, Janelle? I think you should try out Panama City
You think
because
I'd love it?
I think this would be the perfect fit for you, but I totally agree. That's why I think I would go with Europe over Latin
Yeah.
America. And also something we didn't discuss, but like safety as well as like
Yes.
solo female
Europe is way
traveler.
more safe.
Yes, like honestly, I feel like pretty safe in Panama City. Like it's probably one of the safest places depending
Costa
on your
Rica, obviously you felt safe.
yeah, depending on your area.
Hmm.
But Costa Rica, like sometimes I didn't. I think it's more like
Mm.
the cat calling really gets to me. Like when you're
Yes.
alone walking, even like at night if I have to run an errand. And it's so uncomfortable because you never know, like, if they're drunk. It could just be catcalling, which is super annoying to start with.
Or it could
Um,
be worse.
it could be worse. They could be drunk. Like the other day, I
Mhm.
ran into like some construction workers, and like they were aggressively catcalling me and like circling around me. I'm like, oh my God, like
Ugh.
just walk away, just
This
walk
could
away.
end really badly.
Exactly. So like, and it does happen to people. Like you hear
Mhm.
stories and you're like, wow, like that could happen. So I think
Mhm.
that's like I want to feel safe. I want to be able to walk. I love walking everywhere. That's one of my
Yeah.
must-haves. I need to be able to walk everywhere. So Europe seems like the better fit.
I think Lisbon's going to be good
I think
for you.
so. Yeah, I'm excited.
Do you know anything about astrocartography?
Astrocartography,
Yeah.
like the universe, like the stars and all that stuff. Is that
So
what it is?
basically, it's almost like looking at your birth chart, but instead it comes up as like a world map. And basically, I don't know how much truth there is to it because obviously,
Mm.
basically, there's a bunch of lines and they'll say, like, this is the part of the world that you'll feel most like yourself. This is the part of the world where you'll probably go through a lot of growth. This is probably where you would find love, have success. Anyways, you should look yours up.
Oh my gosh. Okay, send me that after so I
I
remember.
will.
But thank
It's
you.
hard to read, but once you figure it out, you can figure it out. Now, I don't know, like, it's like anything. Even with astrology compatibility, someone could say, oh, like a Taurus and a Gemini would be the worst compatibility. But like you could also find someone that's been married for 65 years,
It's so true. It's so
you
true.
know?
It depends on
There's
the
obviously
person.
so many other things. So I know like there's certain lines in the world that I'm like, I think I would really love that place, even though it's not putting the positive lines there. But I'm like, there's so many other factors, you know?
Where's your positive line?
I have a lot going through Brazil and Buenos Aires.
Okay,
Yeah, a lot going
Buenos
through there,
Aires.
and a lot going through Indonesia and Australia. Yeah, a little bit of everything.
Oh, that's cool. You know what? I almost went to Buenos Aires. I think you should check it out. I've heard great
Yeah,
things. And I've had friends live there and they absolutely love
and
it.
they loved it.
Yeah.
You know where I have absolutely no lines? Toronto. Like not even any bad lines, like literally just blank, nothing. And that's honestly that's how I feel. I don't dislike Toronto, but I don't love it. Like I'm very neutral about it.
Yeah. I think it was a big
That makes
jump
sense.
though, like, for you,
Yeah.
right, years ago where you moved to Toronto and it's like, wow,
Mhm.
it's the big city vibes, like you made it. But then yeah,
Mhm.
but then you adapt to it and you get accustomed to it and you're like, "Oh, maybe it's not everything I thought it was," which is totally
Mm.
fine. Like not everything usually is. So you
Yeah,
just
I
gotta
know.
keep moving.
Overall, because I know you have to go, overall in the last couple years, yeah, you're about 2.5 years into this change.
Mhm.
What have you noticed that has changed about your life and just like changed about who you are as a human? Like what are you happy and proud of?
Yeah, so I've been traveling for about a year and a half now, a bit over a year and a half.
Mhm.
I think I'm most proud of like my adaptability, because it's so scary. So like
Mhm.
I was freaked out, obviously. Like I just try not to show it, but I was just like, wow, I made it. Like I can get by speaking a total different language that I didn't speak like a year and a half ago. Like sure, I knew
Mhm.
a few words here and there, but now I can get by, have conversations. One of my goals was to meet people all around the world. So now I'm like, wow, I have friends everywhere. Like
Mhm.
the other weekend, my friend I met in Mexico was like, hey, I'm coming to Panama. Like I'm staying at this hotel on this island. Come join me. I'm like, cool. So like,
Of course.
like you meet a lot of different people from different backgrounds, different countries, speak different languages, you network with a bunch of different business owners or just people in
Mhm.
general. And I think your mind just really expands and you start to see that, like, whoa, anything is possible. Like, I don't think I'd be this far in my business if I stayed in the same place
Mm.
because your mind just hasn't matched up to that, like, capacity of like what's possible. So I
Mm.
think those are like the biggest takeaways, and also just like the importance of self-care and to live in the present. Because I find in more like Latin American countries, especially in Europe as well, people just move slower and they live like more peaceful, like slower lives. And like you go to a restaurant and it may take forever to get your order in, but I'm like, you know what? True. Like they may be talking to their husband or wife or kid for an hour, but I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that's your family. Go talk to them during your work shift. Like, why do we have this mindset where like you're at work, like, no, don't get distracted. Like,
Mhm.
so I think there's just so many little lessons you learn in different countries, and I just try and apply that to my life. And yeah, it just keeps getting better. There's still hard times, there's still, times of confusion, loneliness, stress, but overall, it's been much more positive and healthy.
Traveling has made me a lot more patient coming back to Toronto and a lot
Yes,
less reactive.
yes, that's a
Like
good
I'm
one.
not in a rush as much as I used to be.
And how has that changed your life?
I'm just so unaffected. I feel like a
Right.
little Buddhist monk.
Yeah, you're like, okay, cool.
Not really, but more than I used to be.
Exactly. It's small changes, right? So,
It is. Last but not least, if someone's listening today and they want to either go the digital nomad route or even just to start traveling and exploring different countries,
yeah.
what is a few actual tangible tips that you can get them and what they need to do next?
Yeah, for sure. So, tangible tips, like definitely write out your goals and plan out what you're looking for. So then you can match the country to your goals, right? Do you want something
Mhm.
that's, more fast paced like New York or slower paced like Spain?
Mm.
But I would say Google, do your research, go on Instagram, find out people living the life, but actually try and like talk to them, because a lot of the times like pictures and videos aren't everything at all. It's just the like 1%. What I share is 1%. Like I can be like having a freaking panic attack the next minute and then I post this little thing. But yeah, but I think steps they can make, like they can always reach out to me as well.
Mhm.
My email for work is hello@seocafe.ca, or my
Cool.
LinkedIn
I
at,
love that you got that domain.
yeah, I know, I love it. I was so
It's
happy.
cute.
Or my LinkedIn at Jordana Abitbol. But feel free to reach out, like just send me a DM as well. You can find me on Instagram, and I'm more than happy to talk about my experience and help others, because I think that it could really change your life. And it's important to have someone that you can actually like ask real life questions to who have experienced it. So,
Mm.
yeah, you're welcome to flood my messages.
Of course. Jordana, thanks so much for being open. There's so much more that I wanted to touch on, but I feel like it was just more like logistics chat. And I
Yeah.
hope we gave people just ideas of like where you can go and what your life could look like, the good
Yeah.
and the bad. But honestly, there's so much more we could talk about. So if you ever want to come back, like please, please, please come back.
Yeah.
And as you get ready to go to Portugal, ask me any questions.
I love it. Yes, for sure, Janelle. So I would love to join again, maybe after some more locations, so I have more
Mhm.
information to share. But this was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, and we'll definitely keep this going offline to talk about Portugal.
Of course, of course. Thank you so much.